Welcome back to Fire School. I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, and today we want to talk about fire kits and a purposely made fire tinder. Now, when we're putting together a fire kit, we want something that's going to go from a very small flame or even a spark in any weather condition to give us a sustained flame. Something that will give us time to dry out marginal tinder, our kindling, and our fuel that will give us the time and duration needed to start and be successful at creating fire. Now, there's a lot of different manufacturers out there, but I'm going to show you just a couple of my favorites. Now, one of the first ones that I was ever introduced to was called WetFire. Little cubes come individually wrapped. They've got like a 3 to 5 year shelf life as long as the package is not open. And when you buy these in, I believe this is a 10 pack or a 12 pack, they cost about $1.75 a piece. But I was able to find something that is very similar that's a lot cheaper. If you're using these around the house or on your camping trips, these are Weber lighter cubes, and they're actually designed to start charcoal in your charcoal grill. And they come in a bubble pack like this with these little cubes in them. They act very much like WetFire. The problem is with it being in that little cube, even though these are a lot cheaper, this package is $6.49 for 24. That breaks down to about 27 cents a piece. But when they're in that bubble wrap, once they're exposed to air, they start to degrade, and they don't work as well after about a week or so. Keeping them fresh and keeping the air off of them is the key to their success. But that is a great tinder that will start even after it's been wet and submerged in water. So to demonstrate that, we're going to take one of these cubes and pop it out of this package. And I'm going to place that in my container of water, and we're going to let that sit there. We'll bobble that around a little bit and let that set while we discuss a couple of other tinders. For everyday carry and something that I put in a small Ziploc bag, I used to use these. And this is a little small, it's like a piece of cotton that's wrapped up. It's got some accelerant mixed in with it, and it's a little waxy on the outside, and it's just this little tab. And they don't burn nearly as long as the WetFire. Those will burn for several minutes. These just several seconds. But it's enough to give you that flame where you don't have to sit there and hold your match to it or hold the big lighter on your kindling and your fuel, and they work out pretty well. This particular one, you buy them, they're about 50 cents a piece, about 50 cents, but very small, very lightweight, and they work well. And I've used them dry, but to be honest, I've never tried to use them wet. So we're going to give that a try also by adding that to our water and just dropping that in. We'll dunk it a couple of times and let that sit there and float. And here of late, I have found one called the Fire Plug. Now, when I first saw these, they were only available through Self-Reliance Outfitters, but now I'm finding them under different names on the internet and Amazon. And these, let's see, a 20 pack, well, the breakdown is 65 cents a piece. And this is like a cigarette butt sized piece of accelerant infused wax coated little fire starting tabs. I believe these are actually made for little cotton pads for the medical field. And then our old standby, tried and true, goes all the way back to my days in the Cub Scouts, what we used to use, which was cotton balls and some petroleum jelly. And you infuse this cotton ball with the petroleum jelly, and it really extends the burn time on it. It makes it like a wick. Works extremely well, and I've got some of those already made up just cause I hate to get it all over my hands cause it's slimy. But we're going to take one of those, do the same thing. We're going to place that in our container of water, dunk it a couple of times, and then we'll move over to the stump top and we'll see what kind of burn time and success we get out of a pre-manufactured fire starter. If you're going to build a kit that you're relying on, there's all kinds of natural tinders out there that we can utilize. We'll cover that in a future video. But for your emergency kit, and when you really want to make yourself shine, you know, when you're having that camping trip and you're the guy that's going to be starting the fires, we want to have success. So a pre-manufactured all-weather fire starter is what we're looking for. Let's move down to the stump and see how they do. Okay, so whenever you're talking about tinders, you always want to process your tinder. And just for an example, we're going to use the cotton ball right the way it is, nice and dry, like we pulled it out of our medical kit. And we're going to set that here on the side just as an example of something that does not have any accelerant placed in it. Okay, and then we have our little quick tab. Just want to shake it off. Once again, you want to process your tinder, so I'm going to cut it down through the middle, expose the inner fibers, fluff that up a little bit too. And get that one out. And then we have our WetFire. We'll shave a little bit of that down. Let's use the right side of the cutting tool there. All right, we'll get a little bit of that going. And then the one that looks like a cigarette butt, the plug, we'll open that up. I'm becoming pretty fond of these. It's going to be interesting to see just how it does after being submersed in this water. We will learn together. We'll open that up. Once again, process it up a little bit. Set that one over here. And lastly, our Vaseline impregnated cotton ball. Oh, what the heck. I'll go ahead and get in here. Look at the water ringing out of this thing. Should probably get the water off the table. We'll pull that apart. See if we can get to any of the interior fibers that have not been saturated. Set that down there. And just so we have an idea of what would happen if you made them up fresh, we're going to take a cotton ball and then add some Vaseline or petroleum jelly right out of the tube. This would represent us having some type of a petroleum product, petroleum jelly, that we add to something that we pull out of our first aid kit. Or like me, I carry some Chapstick that's got the same base to it. And so instead of Vaseline, you could use any of these. This is like a Chapstick. This is a lip balm that has some SPF in it, and this is just regular Chapstick. These are all good for first aid and something that you might be carrying anyway, but just as a homemade option. And then we'll use our big lighter to start them. So we'll start up here with the Tinder Quick, the WetFire, the plug, the Vaseline petroleum jelly that was soaked in water, the one that we made up, and for our example of just a cotton ball without anything added to it. And we'll do a little time lapse here and we'll see how long those burn and how intense they burn and which ones we might want to have. Let me move you down here a little bit. It might be a little hard to see because they're all burning, kind of hiding each other. All right, so our cotton ball is out. WetFire is burning strong. This one right here, our Vaseline that was soaked in water, it's burning, but it's not very furious. Not very fierce, I should say. Maybe we can help it out a little bit by manipulating it some. No, I put it out, so I'll reignite it and just leave it alone. Running my own test here. So soaking in water, not very effective at all. It's burning, but it's struggling. That water really saturated that cotton and is really preventing it from burning. Once again, not great. All right, so that's a fail. But the one that we made up fresh is still burning strong, looking good. We'll just leave these set for a couple of minutes and see how long they last. Okay, so we're going to call the fire plug. Oh, still burning a little bit. All right, that one's out. And the Vaseline that we made up is out. The fire plug is out. The Tinder quick went out quick. The cotton ball that went the fastest, and our pre-made cotton and petroleum jelly, once it was saturated in water, did not work well at all. So WetFire is still burning. So let's go back to our discussion about the cotton ball and some other things that you can add in with it. So let's go with just some chapstick. I'll pull off a little bit of that, manipulate that into the cotton ball, mix that up really nice. A lot of us carry chapstick, so if you have cotton in your first aid kit, which I always recommend that you have a couple of cotton balls in your first aid kit. This is the Vaseline lip balm. Oh, okay. We'll pull out about the same amount of that. Well, I say we will. Okay, break that off in there. Once again, manipulate that around, working it all in that cotton. We want to make the cotton act like a wick. So we'll put that down there and see how that does. And then the one that had the SPF in it, this is just one of them I use when I'm fishing, has a SPF of 30. So good multi-purpose piece of kit there. Hands get all slimy. Let's get that in there good. The old Weber cube is still burning, and I kind of use that in the WetFire the same way. Just the WetFire is better for a long-term kit, just more expensive, but it's nice that it comes individually wrapped. And then just for one other example, here is the Blistex. Pull out about the same amount. Grab one more cotton ball. Work a little bit of that in. Carmax, the camouflage paint, hunters that use the camo face paint, athletes that have the black, you know, the stuff underneath their eyes to cut down on the glare of the lights. A lot of lipsticks and bug spray. All of these are things that you can add to a cotton ball. So let's see if we can remember which one is which, and we'll see how they burn and what kind of burn time we get out of them. Now all of them lit right up and had a pretty intense burn, and is going to give us a much longer flame and good producing heat that will help us overcome some of those marginal fuels that we might be trying to utilize to start our fires. So as you can see, all of those work, and looking at the burn time so far, they all work pretty similar. You can definitely smell the ones that have a fragrance in them and the one that has the SPF in it. this one's completely out. These two are rapidly going. That one's out. This one is just about gone. This one's waning quickly. A little bit more flame though. Okay, this one's out. And that one is just about ready to go. All right, and our last one is out. Okay, just a couple of more that I want to show you. This is Mini Inferno from Self-Reliance Outfitters, which is like a cotton disc impregnated. This is our true WetFire. We'll open up one of those. And then once again, our fire plug. And we already know that mixing this up in advance does not work. But here we're going to do Vaseline or petroleum jelly. I guess not to use the name brand. We'll put some petroleum jelly in that cotton ball, and we're going to once again see how these go, because the Mini Inferno disc has been one of my tried and trues for years. Completely saturated in water. The burn time has been fantastic, and I like that they're thin, so they're easy to store in just about any location. Don't take up a lot of room is what I'm trying to say. Man, that Vaseline gets all over your hands. I don't want to get any of the others. All right, so that's our Vaseline or petroleum jelly. I keep saying Vaseline. This is our fire plug. The Self-Reliance Outfitters Mini Inferno, and of course the WetFire. Split that open once again. Open this up. Expose those inner fibers. This one, I'm just going to rip it a little bit. Get to the middle part. Open it up. That's the Mini Inferno. And of course the WetFire. We'll shave a little bit of that, but leave the cube halfway intact, and that way we can see exactly what our timing is. And on this one, I think I'll put us on time lapse. Okay, so just a quick recap. the petroleum jelly and cotton ball and the fire plug, they were close. The petroleum jelly cotton ball went out first. Right behind it was the fire plug, and then the WetFire and the Mini Inferno, they put out the most heat. I mean, they were really they were burning very well and for a very long time. The WetFire gave up the ghost next, and then last was the Mini Inferno. But boy, what an amount of flame and heat that this one was producing compared to the others. That was quite incredible to see all of them burning at the same time. Just goes to show you my old standby is still the king of the pre-made fire tenders. The nice thing about this too is it comes in a nice little screw tin. It keeps everything nice and neat. But what I do is I take one plug out and put it in a little Ziploc bag, like a little pill bottle, and that can slide in the little pocket with my Leatherman tool or within a first aid kit. And I've always got it with me. All right, guys, just a couple of examples of some purposely intended fire tenders that you can use when you go out. I found it quite interesting to see how some of these products work. And there's a ton of different stuff on the market, but these are the ones that I've used the most and that I have the most confidence in. So it was interesting to see a burn test side by side. Thanks for joining me for this one. Until next time, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, home of global safety and survival. God bless.